it's Luke from Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek. This week's podcast, Power Pack, we're going to be talking a lot about Game of Thrones. The last episode's coming up. Larry, what are you doing?
I'm Daenerys Targaryen.
No, you're not.
I'm the Khaleesi.
Listen, you come out here, you ruin all our promos with your ridiculousness. Stop it.
Dracarys.
I hate you. Larry, what are you doing?
I'm Larys Targaryen. I'm Larys Targaryen. I'm the Khaleesi. Nope.
In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Yeah. Well, now you know what that is. After 12 episodes, I finally figured out what that is. You know what that is?
What is it?
It's a dragon.
Oh, dragon!
It's a dragon destroying King's Landing is what that is.
We knew it way before it was going to happen.
Now we can finally reveal it.
Everybody, it's Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek. I'm Loop.
And I'm Larry.
And we have a Power Pack show. This is our first show. We were just talking about this off podcast.
Yes.
We were just talking about how we haven't done a regular show
in weeks.
Yeah.
We've thrown a few specials in there, but we figured at some point we got to get back on track. So now I think we're back on track. So everybody can calm down.
Yes, calm down, everyone.
There was mass hysteria, some panic. When are Loop and Larry going to get back on track? Give us what we want. Forget about all this news. And now we're back on track.
We are back on track. So a few things have been going on that aren't like really, I guess they're newsworthy, but they're not the news.
No.
So Game of Thrones.
This is a big one. Woo! This is big. As of recording date. Okay, calm down.
Okay. I can't.
We just finished episode 5
of
season 8. So we have the finale to go. And I got to tell you, I've never experienced anything on TV that even comes close to what I'm watching on a weekly basis in this season. It's insane.
And there's been some critics of this season,
Yes.
but I have enjoyed it thoroughly.
I have too.
And there's some things that haven't been answered, but I like that not everything's been answered.
Yeah.
Because in reality, these people would not have someone to come up and say, oh, this is what the Night King is.
That's right.
And this is where he came from. Like, that would be ridiculous. Like, that's what I like about it, because someone would have known that already prior to the Night King coming.
Right.
Like, the Night King's not going to go, oh, before I'm about to die, I'm going to tell you who I am.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're not going to do that.
No.
So that's what I like about it. It's just, they were there, they defeated them, and we move on.
And that's it. Yeah, exactly. And this show has never, ever spoon-fed any information to anybody.
Yeah.
So if they were to start that now and start, and Sam and Gilly walked off to hand in hand, it would be so out of character for the show. So yeah, you're right. There's going to be some characters that just sort of give a quiet goodbye and that's that, and we won't see them again. Sam and Gilly maybe, but and I think that's okay. Like I'm okay with that. I understand that that's the way it works.
Yeah, and I think it's been great so far this season. There's been a lot happen. This is pretty bad. I'd like to have seen more deaths in the White Walker episode season.
Bit, yes.
I think just because it was built up like it was going to be a slaughterhouse, and it wasn't. But that's okay.
I mean, there were a lot of deaths. We just didn't know any of those people.
Yeah.
So
they're like the Star Trek red shirts.
Yes, exactly.
They walking around.
It really was. Yeah.
You can always tell when they kind of put a spotlight on someone just for, like in the last episode I guess would be 5.
Yeah.
The King's guards outside, they focused a lot on this one guy.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and even my wife Jen's like, that guy's going down.
Yeah.
Like it's just because he had no lines, but they really focused on him, and I'm like, yeah, he's.
And he looked confused, and he's like looking around, just waiting for death to hit him.
Yeah.
And then it did.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. No, I think it's been really great. I know some people I've talked to have talked about how they're moving storylines along way too fast in this season.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a much shorter season. They've never done a 6-episode season, so they do have to move things a little faster than normal. But I think if we've been watching the series up to this point, you kind of you kind of know how to read the situation and you know how to read the characters.
Yeah.
So, and if you know enough about the characters, you don't need to see every little action that they take.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think the subtitle of the season is like the talking's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we've had the talking, we've had all the placing of all the armies. Like this season's about the battles. This
That's right.
season is like we're heading into battle, and first we have to fight the White Walkers. Now we had to go to King's Landing, and now I love the way they set up in this last episode. And if you haven't watched the episode, we're going to spoil it right now. If you haven't watched it, like I love that they now set up almost a new villain, which is Daenerys.
Yeah, but it's interesting because they set her up. I mean, she has literally now become the Mad Queen. She's fulfilled the prophecy of the Targaryen and become a mad queen. But I was thinking about this. If you think back to all the things that she's done throughout the series so far, she's killed a lot of people that may or may not have deserved it.
Right.
So, she at the, in the early stages, she was killing people because she thought that it was the right thing to do.
Right.
But several times, for example, let's say, here's an example for you. When she was in Marine, when she was ruling Marine, she came in there and she wanted to kill all the masters because she wanted to free the slaves, become breaker of chains.
Right.
So she killed all the masters. Well, on the surface, that sounds like a great idea. Hey, all the slaves are gone. All the masters are dead. You did a great job. Good for you. Pat on the back. But then one of the slaves approached her in her throne room and said, "You killed my master, but I loved him and I raised his kids and they were my family and now I have nothing and I have no purpose in life. What did you do? Why are you doing these things?" So you kind of realize that she wasn't really thinking that clearly about what she was doing. She was doing a lot of killing without
she's become
remorse.
She's everything she doesn't want to be because she's become her own judge, jury, and executioner.
Yes.
Right? Like she makes the decisions on this. Yeah. She's got Tyrion as her hand, but she sometimes listens to him. But I think in this last episode, I think she just felt like everyone betrayed her. Like every single, even her allies betrayed her. Yeah. Everyone,
she had nothing left to lose. She was, in this episode, she was like a cornered dragon.
Yeah,
she was literally like a dragon who was pushed into a corner, and she was going to pounce and she was going to strike back because she had nothing left to lose. And I also think the only reason we haven't seen Mad Queen up to this point is because of people like Tyrion and Jorah and all of the counselors that she had, advisors, because they were all good and they knew what she should be doing. If they weren't there, I think she would have gone ballistic way earlier.
And I think it was like Jon Snow that made her snap because she asked him in confidence not to say something to Sansa, and he did.
Yep.
And then the rumors went to so and so and to so and so, and then it just kind of went around like she had said in the episode. And I think it was just she knew she could not trust a single person.
That's right. She literally had nobody left.
Yeah.
And Jon Snow was literally the only person left on in the world who she cared about and trusted. Yeah. And when she found out that she couldn't even trust him, then there's no point.
Yeah, like his family was more important to him than her, which it should be.
Yeah, well, exactly. But her focus for 8 seasons now has been getting on that Iron Throne. Yeah. And anybody who stood in her way was not.
If it's even there anymore.
Who knows? Now it's going to be an iron lump. It's all melted down.
Well, she essentially destroyed pretty much the whole city. She weighed lace to it or what waste to it. Yeah.
There's nothing left to it. But she's still alive. I mean, she's gonna somehow. I don't know. This is the big question. Is she gonna take over? Is she actually gonna sit on the throne, or is Jon Snow going to have come to his senses and having seen what she did?
Right.
Is he gonna take her out?
Yeah.
Is he gonna be like, you know what? Maybe I was playing for the wrong team here. Maybe. I mean, could it be that Jon Snow actually kills Daenerys?
What if the dragon chooses between the two, and because he's got a stronger bloodline, the dragon destroys her?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, Jon could take over. Could take the dragon on his side. That's quite possible. I don't know. I mean, and the thing with this show is that no matter how many predictions you make, they're going to be wrong.
Yeah, there's already things that have happened. I'm like, I didn't see that coming. No. So I didn't see her. I was like, what are they gonna do for 2 episodes if they're going into King's Landing? It must be like a super long 2-episode battle.
That's
what I thought. It's like, no, that battle's done now. It's like they have a new villain. They have a new person they have to stop. And everybody knows it. So
it's true. I think what's gonna be really interesting is once this episode 6 is over and the whole series is done, to go back and rewatch the series. I bet you'll see signs of her going mad and making mistakes, a lot more mistakes, and people saying things. I think a big part of rewatching this thing will be to watch Lord Varys and see what he says all the way along, because if there's one thing I've learned is to never doubt Lord Varys.
Yes.
He believe whatever he says, because he's the only one who knows what's really going on.
He always seems to be the person that like can step out of a situation and see like the big picture.
Yes.
Whereas everybody else is gets too caught up in it.
Yeah.
But I think Tyrion knew he was right.
Yeah.
But she's got a dragon. Like, what do you do, right?
Well,
and he's already I don't think he's ever really followed anybody, and I think he felt loyalty to her because that's the decision he made, and he wanted to stick to it. I think.
Right.
So,
and he even said something like, you pick a queen and you follow. You show your allegiance. So he had made the commitment, but he was wrong. Varys was right.
Oh man, that episode was just vicious.
Yeah.
Like the way she'd go up and down all the streets and just like burning it, like. No, it's almost like all the people were guilty by association.
Yeah.
And she just took them all out.
Well, this honestly, I think at this point, it's all about revenge. It's no longer about politics. It's about, it's personal.
Yeah.
She's just taking revenge because Cersei now had another one of her dragons killed.
Yeah.
So killed her child.
Yeah.
And you know how Cersei is about children.
Yeah.
She killed one of Daenerys' child, and then she killed Missandei.
Yeah.
Who is Grey Worm's love.
Yeah.
So now Grey Worm has a personal vendetta. So I think it's almost not even about the Iron Throne anymore. It's about taking revenge for all this destruction that people have.
Yeah, and Grey Worm will follow Daenerys because the Unsullied totally will. So it's and you saw that in the thing. Like he just totally snapped as well. So
yeah. I mean, the war was over. The bells were ringing.
Yeah.
It was done, and then both of them just.
I thought they were going to ring those bells. Like I thought she'd find out about this plan, and I thought they would ring the bells, and then everybody else would think, "Oh, it's they're surrendering." And they come in, they get like that's what I thought was going to happen. I didn't see what was going to happen. Like I couldn't foresee that.
And then how about that Arya?
Woo.
Oh,
I'm still not 100% sure what her purpose is. Like I've seen bits and pieces. Obviously, she killed the Night King, but there's some. Like I'm not 100% sure where they're taking her, but there's obviously she's got a big part in this.
I feel like that whole we spent like a season and a half on her being trained to be an assassin.
Yes.
In the House of Black and White. Like that's got to. I mean, it's come back. I mean, she killed the whole entire Frey. That was the best.
Yeah.
All that, and then she helped to kill Littlefinger, and then she killed the Night King. Like her assassin skills are.
Her list
powerful.
is getting smaller.
It is getting
smaller.
smaller.
She's checking them off.
Yeah, and her whole purpose was to kill the queen.
Yeah.
Well, Cersei's dead, but there's still a queen out there. Is she gonna flip flop and maybe kill the new queen?
I don't know. It's gonna be good. What do you think about Cersei the way she died? Because some people were mad that she didn't get killed by a specific person.
Yes. I think that it made. I think it made sense. I would have liked to have seen as. This, I don't mean this to sound sick, but I would like to have seen more suffering. However, I think it made perfect sense that that Jaime and Cersei, who could not be apart, who loved each other despite how horrible they were to each other, died with their baby.
Yeah.
So she was pregnant. So the entire family was wiped out together in one moment.
Yeah.
And I think
and as much as his arc. Everyone's like, oh, he's a good guy now, but it's like he's still a Lannister, and he can't, and he still loves her, and he couldn't not go back to her.
Well, and that was it, and that's kind of what he said to Brienne, and I think that's why he left Brienne, because I think he realized that Brienne was a good person and deserved a better person
than he is. Yeah,
when he realized that Cersei was set out to kill him and sent Bronn to kill Jaime, I think Jaime realized, you know what, I'm the same person. I'm full of hate. I'm not, and Brienne can't be associated with me.
Yeah.
So as much as that was a nice relationship and good for Brienne, I think he made a heroic move by saying, I'm leaving you before I destroy you.
Yeah.
So I think that was smart.
And I again, it's like, we don't need a happy ending for us. Like that's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone like Arya to kill Cersei, but it's like, we don't need that because when you really look back at all the seasons, she's suffered. Like, no wonder she's a shell of a person and so evil and so angry because, she always kind of was, but it's like all her kids were killed. Like, literally all of them. Like,
and her father treated her horribly.
Yeah.
You know, and she grew up without a mother. And, you know, I mean, psychologically, she was messed up.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, she has suffered like bits at a time throughout her whole life. And then she loses another child there too, right? Like, so.
Right. Well, and I think that was it, is that she was so panicked that she didn't want her child to die. And she became bad too. She was essentially a mad queen.
Yeah.
You know, but I think, I mean, and as sort of sick and twisted as their relationship was, it was still a romance. Like, they were still passionately in love with each other, as weird as that whole thing was. So it was kind of a romantic thing that they could die together.
Yeah.
You know, as dark as that is, I think it totally made sense.
Yeah, I wasn't upset by it. I thought it was kind of cool. But so what do you predict for the last episode?
I predict that any prediction I make is going to be wrong.
The thing is, I don't even want to predict because I just want to see it unfold. Like, I don't, like, I'm going to miss the show for sure.
Yeah.
But then we've had like such a long stretch between not having it. So, but I'm going to miss it. At the same time, I just want to see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
And I'll probably be happy with any ending.
Yep.
So
I think so. I mean, they're not going to mess it up. This is the thing. I mean, it is such a big show with so many millions of followers, and it's become such a hit.
Yeah.
They're not going to.
Like, they're not going to Dexter it.
No, they will not. They won't Dexter it. They won't Lost it. They won't.
Jon Snow's going to be dressed as a lumberjack working for.
Exactly. It's
with the
definitely not going to
Wildings.
end with George R.R. Martin just closing a book and saying, "The end." I don't think that's going to happen either.
Though you never know.
I could, you know, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know that I want to make predictions because all I can predict is that we'll only have a couple of years to wait before the prequel show starts up. And that one's called The Long Night, as far as I know. So it's
television and movies love a good prequel.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hottest thing,
coming.
man.
It's coming.
Okay, I'm just going to move on to another show just quickly.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it for about 20 minutes.
Okay,
it's called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Is that a new show?
Yeah, it's a new show. I just want to mention it because I know Endgame was so huge. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is now buried on a Friday night. And it is back. And I almost forgot it was on. Yeah. Because unless you watch regular TV and don't fast forward through the commercials, you may miss it. But anyway, I just want people to know that it is back on. They could probably watch the first episode on demand, but it's the first episode was actually really good. I quite enjoyed it, and but it definitely happens before Infinity War.
Oh, it really?
Yeah, there's no indication of snaps or crackles or pops. So it takes place before, but it's so far so good.
Awesome. Is this the last season of it, or is it?
No, they've been signed for another season.
Really?
So it's
wow. And yet they still moved it to a Friday.
Yeah, well, it's moved to the Friday last year too.
Okay,
so but it's just a day that you kind of forget there'd be an actual new show on, other than Blue Bloods or whatever.
Fridays used to be the graveyard of
I know now
TV.
But they have been putting shows on it now. So anyways, it's good. I just wanted to mention that it was back on and to check it. If you're a Marvel fan, it's worth checking out.
Perfect.
Have you watched any of the other seasons or
not a one? Actually.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Excellent. I love your enthusiasm on that.
Yay!
Thanks for supporting S.H.I.E.L.D.
And what is this show again?
All right. Well, let's do the news.
Happening right now. We're watching several stories around the world.
Nothing's riding on this except freedom of the press and maybe the future of the country.
No more paranoid on-air rants about the supernatural.
Here's what's making news.
We don't use that intro very often, but it's a great one. It's a classic.
We're using it more.
I don't know what that was. But.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so let's. Why don't we start? We'll segue right from TV, your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV news, right into other TV news.
Let's do it.
How about that?
All right.
Okay, so the first one and the one I'm most excited about is that because I'm a huge. This is sort of a movie TV crossover piece.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm such a big Quentin Tarantino fan.
Yeah, same here.
I love Loop and I love the Tarantino.
Yeah.
He can do no wrong in our worlds.
Yeah.
His movie The Hateful Eight.
Yep. Which it might still be playing in theaters.
I think it might be
because it started it's about 8 hours long.
It
so
is.
It's
still. If you got in a seat about 3 months ago, you'll still
be there watching it. Okay, go on.
It is. He's decided to re-release it in a new edited format on Netflix and make it into a 4-part miniseries.
That is so cool.
It's really cool because it was like a solid 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But what he's done is he's added like roughly 25 minutes of additional footage, new footage, and broken it into 4 50-minute shows. So it'll
cool.
be, yeah. So and he said he's even rejigged the story a little bit, like re-edited slightly, so it's got a different sort of pacing and so this will give us a flavor of what Quentin Tarantino will be like on the TV. Because Luke and I were talking, because Tarantino's always said he's only making 10 movies and that's it. Well, the new movie that he's got coming out, which is Once Upon a Time in Los Angeles? Hollywood. No, in Hollywood, is his 9th.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Ninth, which means he only has one more movie after this, but he's not an old guy. Like he's got a lot more in him. Yeah. So we're wondering if maybe TV is where he's going next, and maybe this is sort of his first.
Because the way he tells stories, I think TV actually lends a lot to the type of way the way he tells stories. 'Cause he always has a lot of characters in it, and
exactly.
So this might be his first kind of like just testing the waters.
Yeah,
testing those Netflix waters.
That's right. Well, and this timing is perfect because
he definitely won't be on Disney Plus.
No, there's one streaming service he won't appear on.
That's actually a good way for Netflix to go, is sort of like a darker approach, like to shows and that, and let Disney do the little bit lighter fare.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like 10 years ago, I don't think Tarantino could have been on TV because he couldn't do the kind of writing that he likes to do. But now with all these streaming services, he's got free reign. So
yeah, I'm excited about that.
I think that's pretty cool. What else do we have? All the upfronts just happened in TV land, letting us know who's coming back and what shows are happening. And so if you have a favorite show, here's a little list of what's coming back. The Orville, which I'm actually quite excited about. I really like this show.
It'll be season 3.
This will be season 3.
Again, it's one of those shows I want to kind of go back and rewatch, but it's too much like Star Trek, and it's not too weird as much as I thought it was going to be.
It's
not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it started out as a full-on comedy, but then it became quite serious, and there's some dramatic things. I don't know. I think I really like it, so I'm actually quite surprised that it's coming back for season 3. I didn't think it had that big an audience, but it is coming back. What else have we got? The Goldbergs, which is great because that's my life story on a
basically, right?
Yes, I am Adam Goldberg. I quite openly admit that.
I mentioned this one before, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming back for another season after this.
Yeah.
Which, again, we don't know where in that timeline it's going to place, but we'll see.
Yep, so that one is back. Most of the DC CW shows are coming back.
Yeah.
So the
There's
Flash.
so many. There's so many. And there's a Batgirl starting as well, or Batwoman.
Batwoman,
yeah. So I'm like, but Arrow season 8 will be the last for Arrow. So it's like, or I think maybe it's 10.
Season
8 or 10. I don't know.
It could be 10. It might
I don't know.
10.
It's been on forever.
It's been 23 for all
I don't know. I stopped watching it after about season 6. It was like the problem was like it was DC fatigue.
Yes.
Like I started watching it, and then I was watching like Flash, and then I was watching
Gotham,
like
and
Legends. It was too much.
Yeah.
Like I started getting just too many shows, and they all started crossing over. And Supergirl, and I was
there are at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, and now there's Black Lightning, and there's too many. There's just too much.
Yeah.
So,
but it is rounding out its term on the TV. But what's not stopping is the juggernaut called The Simpsons.
Oh my God.
Season 31 and 32 have been announced. Will this show never end?
I don't know. It's just one of those shows that just keeps going and going, right?
It's like why bother?
I'm assuming it's got I haven't watched it in a long time, but I still watch Family Guy, but I feel like there's probably a new audience every so often that kind of like joins in,
I
right?
think so. Like it's obviously got a big enough audience to give it 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
And it's I just feel like until it's really starting to
that's the producers of The Simpsons giving me a call right now.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Don't answer it. I feel like as long as they've got numbers to back them up, it'll keep going forever.
Yeah.
I just don't see an ending. I don't know how they're going to end it. Okay, so moving on, we've got a little bit of Endgame news, which I know isn't TV news, but this is how Endgame is going to be seen next, which is on the TV. and of course, we've got Disney Plus coming, so they've announced that Endgame will appear on Disney Plus on December 11th.
Oh, wow,
okay. So if you're looking to, if you choose not to go and see it in the theater, and I don't know why you wouldn't, at least once or twice, then you're going to have to wait till December 11th to watch it on your TV. I'm sure you could. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if you'll be able to rent it, like if they'll be.
For sure. I bet it'll be out by summer.
I would think so.
Or it's already almost summer now, but like end of summer.
Yeah, I would think so. So it seems a little odd that they're waiting that long. You'd think since Disney
it might still be in theaters by December.
Well, and that might be too, because you'd think they'd launch with that. Like that would be a good movie to launch with. But anyway, it will be there. So if you need to check it out,
I think Captain Marvel's their launching movie. I think we talked about that last time. Yeah.
So anyway, it is coming December 11th. So that's what we've got for TV news. Let's move on to the movies.
The movies.
Stop doing that.
Oh.
Okay. So,
Hollywood.
No.
What?
Okay. So we've got some trailers. A couple of trailers dropped this past little while. The most exciting one for me, and I think we've talked about this before, It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
I could not be more excited about a movie coming up this year.
As soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, Larry's going to be like all over this thing.
All over. I was literally, because this was the funniest thing. The studio put up a full motion billboard in downtown New York on like last Monday.
Yeah.
That was just promoting the fact that the trailer was going to drop on Thursday. It wasn't a billboard for the movie. It was a billboard to let you know that the trailer for the movie is going to drop.
That's so funny.
But it was huge, and it was full LED motion balloons were rising. It was amazing. So anyway, so I knew it was coming on Thursday. Then I happened to find out that it was dropping at noon on Thursday, and I cannot tell you how long a morning that was.
Just waiting for it.
Waiting to count down till
like Christmas Day for
noon.
you.
Oh, it was so exciting.
Demented Christmas
Day.
Day.
It really was. But I am so excited, and it did not disappoint.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It showed like a kind of. It was long
like
though.
almost 3 minutes.
Yeah, and because it had almost like a full scene.
Yes.
Without giving away the ending of the scene, but then it had like a lot of just really quick clips that like really made you like, oh man, I got to see this thing.
I think the casting is great. I just think this is going to be fantastic. And I love, we've talked about this before, I love how they have a Stephen King universe going on. So there were some throwbacks to other Stephen King stories in that opening clip. So if you watch it, you can look out for things that may reference like The Shining, perhaps.
Oh, cool.
Stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in there, and I think that's really cool too, just to keep a lookout for things. So,
yeah, it's going to be good. So this one, this is the adults.
Yes, this is 27 years after the first one.
Okay, I just recently watched the miniseries, like the original.
Oh, yeah.
So and that one's more like it's mixed together. It jumps back and forth throughout.
Yes.
Whereas for the movies, they've split them.
They have, but there will be like callbacks to the kids.
Yes.
Version like 27 years earlier, so we will still see some adventures, creepy adventures with the kids. So that will happen. But yeah, this is mostly adults.
I saw the funniest interview, if you can find it, with Conan O'Brien on his new show.
Oh yeah,
which is excellent, by the way. I love his new show.
Good.
But with Bill Hader.
Oh yeah,
talking about how the director was like. Would not let him go about how he's trying to look scared in scenes, but he always looks like he's smiling.
Yes.
It was the funniest interview, like Bill Hader trying to like be scared. He's like, you're not acting. You're like, you look like you're happy. Like, I'm trying to be scared. Like, oh my God, it's
awesome.
So funny.
Yeah, I think that is the funniest casting of everybody, because he is so fun. I mean, he's got Barry, and that's more serious.
Yeah.
But I can totally see that, because he does look like he's smiling a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He said he was really struggling with trying to look terrified. He goes, I am looking terrified. No,
you're not. No,
that's so funny.
No, but if you watch this trailer, you will look terrified.
Yes.
So that happened. We also had the Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah, that came out a couple weeks ago, but it's still worth mentioning because it's it confirms that this takes place after Endgame.
Yes.
Which there was rumors that maybe this took place before Endgame and Infinity, but it does not.
No. So this
definitely takes place after.
Yeah, this feels like it's going to be sort of a bridge movie between phase 3 of Marvel and the new phase 4. It's the one that's going to join what happened after Endgame to the new.
I think I might have mentioned this before. I feel like it's an epilogue from like the other one sort of ended it, but this is sort of like the pieces, the extra little pieces are sort of being tied up a little bit, then with new ones starting. But I've never seen a trailer before where at the beginning Tom Holland's on there saying, if you have not seen Endgame, do not watch this trailer.
Yes.
Like I've never seen that.
No.
Like with something. That's how big Endgame was.
Yeah. For a trailer to be a spoiler for a movie that's
exactly
in theaters, that's nuts. But that was pretty funny. It also reminded me that Tom Holland is British, or has an accent of some sort.
He is.
He hides that so well.
That's like whenever you see any interview with anyone from The Walking Dead, almost half of them are British, and I'm like, he's British.
Yeah, that happened. That always amazes me. I mean, acting is acting, but be able to change your voice or your accent, like
it's funny because trying to do an English accent is very difficult because it depends where you're from in England, and there's different different ways of doing it. But
that was pretty exciting. I thought that was good. Okay, so moving on. Hellraiser,
Yep.
everybody's favorite 80s slasher gore fest,
Yes.
which is actually one of my favorites, is getting a reboot. And it's going to be interesting because it's being written by the David S. Goyer, who wrote The Dark Knight.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he has a pretty solid track record when it comes to writing screenplays.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of darkness he brings to Hellraiser and what kind of special effects they use now, because it's a really special effects driven movie, the original.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see what sort of
And Stitch It is providing the pins
yes,
for the pinhead.
They are.
That's the dumbest thing.
Where did that reference come from?
I don't know.
Stitch It. Are you looking for an endorsement here? Is that what's going on? I don't understand.
I get my pants hemmed for a year on this.
I don't think so. I don't know if they can want to be associated with this.
I don't know. I don't think so either. The cool thing about Pinhead is that he'd be easier to do. It's not like I feel like Freddy Krueger is. It's the person. It's like the person playing him. That's that's what makes Freddy Krueger. So when they tried to reboot that series, it was a bit of a flop.
Yes.
Whereas this, I think anyone could really play Pinhead because I can't remember him as a character. I remember the movie as a movie, but
yes.
like
as long as he sort of looks like Pinhead, you know,
I think it'd be fun.
I think that they can. Yeah, I think it will be believable.
Yeah.
Or they might come up with entirely new.
Yeah.
What are they called? Cenobites. I think they might come up with entirely new Cenobites for this one. I mean, there'll be obviously throwbacks to the original, but yeah, there's lots that can be done with this. So I'm actually kind of excited to see what this is going to bring.
Excellent.
Speaking of excited, I'm always excited when there's Star Wars news.
Well, this is part of a package. Let me get into this because they announced Disney Plus and Marvel announced sort of like dates of a bunch of movies coming out, and we'll break it down. But let's start with Star Wars.
Yeah, so they've essentially backed off on the Star Wars on the big screen, which I mean, as big a Star Wars fan as I am, I think is a good move.
Yes.
Like I think obviously it doesn't have the same following or the same it can't have the same impact as the Marvel universe has had, and they tried to make it like that and it didn't really work. So good for them for realizing that, backing it off, and they're going to wait a few years after the Rise of Skywalker episode 9, waiting a few years before they bring the next trilogy back on the big screen. And so they've announced the dates for that, which are December 2022, then 24 and 26. So 2 years between movies, which is interesting because this has been, you know, that's I think a fair amount of time to wait between movies.
Yeah.
But it's a brand new trilogy.
Yeah.
So I believe this is the Rian Johnson trilogy.
Yeah.
And so they haven't released any sort of
because there's a possible
details.
Rian Johnson, but there's also a possible the guys from Game of Thrones,
yes.
right?
Well, there is that. There will be two. So this is the first one, and then once this one is done in 2026, I think that they'll probably wait a couple years, and then the next one will come out. So I mean, they've got plans for the next.
It's so weird. I just find it so bizarre when they're telling us about movies that are coming out like literally like 7 years from now,
Yes.
and I'm like I don't even know I'll be around.
I know.
It's like to see any of these things. Like it's like this.
Well, and that's like when we were growing up, you never knew about a movie until like a couple of months before it came out.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know that Star Wars was when Star Wars came out, that 9 years later it would. Like the last one was coming out.
Well, remember when you'd be at
idea.
the theater and then like the trailers, you'd be like, "What? There's a new whatever out." Like
Yeah.
now we know so far ahead.
Yeah.
Like these stupid geek podcasts that are giving us all the information. I mean,
Exactly.
what's up? What up?
Nobody's leaving anything for surprises anymore.
But it's just not. It's just a different world,
Yeah.
right? Like the information that we can get is just so quick and so fast. It's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, that was the kind of the beauty of being at a theater. It's like you see a trailer for something you didn't even know was coming out.
No.
And it's like it was so groundbreaking.
It was, and it wasn't even that long ago that you still went and saw new trailers.
Yeah.
Now trailers drop on a Thursday at noon.
Yeah.
And they put billboards out to tell you that they're going to drop at Thursday at
so
noon.
such a different world, but
Yeah.
anyways,
So
I'll get off my walker.
yeah,
and
get back.
cane
We'll get back on track here.
All right, here we go.
So as well, they announced because Disney now owns Avatar. So
Okay, go on. Go
So
on.
yeah, Loop's leaving the room now.
I am not a fan of Avatar. I know,
No.
have we mentioned this before on the
I
show?
don't think we have. I don't know if we
I'm just not a fan. I didn't like the first movie. I thought it was weak. I was like, I mean, it was cool special effects. And I think that was what everybody went to see.
Yes.
But it's like how it's like the #1 film of all time. I do not know because I don't know anyone that has a following for Avatar.
Well, that's the thing.
Even if we go to a lot of cons, I don't think I've ever seen anyone dressed as an Avatar
or anybody from the movies.
No one cares about it.
No.
Like,
and yet Disney has created Avatar Land, like Pandora, in the parks. Like, they're really trying to make it a thing.
But they've announced all these movies.
There are now 4 sequels. 4 sequels to this movie, and they are coming out in 2021, 23, 25, and 27. So they're the movies that are coming out in between the Star Wars movies. So it's going to be Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar. For the next until 2027.
So bad.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was not a fan of the first one. I don't know what's
going to be really.
I don't know what's going to hook me to 4 more movies.
Well, that's the thing.
Because I wasn't hooked after the first. I never saw I saw the first one at the theater. Never saw it again.
Really?
I never had any inkling to see it again. I never wanted to see it again. No.
Well, then now you're gonna have to, because we're gonna talk about it on the podcast.
Oh God!
In 2027, we're gonna be reviewing the last Avatar. So just get ready. Bone up on the Pandora and the Na'vi. I know a little bit about Avatar.
Yeah. All right.
Yep,
you can go ahead.
All right, I will do that. So that's happening. Also scheduled is the next Indiana Jones movie. Indiana Jones 5 is coming out also in 2021. Again,
it's called Nuke the Fridge 2.
Yep.
Remember that, the Nuke the Fridge?
That didn't really take off like Jump the Shark did.
No, but it was
really
pretty funny. It still was pretty funny.
It was, and it should really still be part of our
Nuke the Fridge.
Nuke the Fridge. Yeah, I don't know that there's anybody left who is clamoring for a new Indiana Jones movie.
Indiana Jones is one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I love Indiana Jones.
100%.
But it's just, there's a time period. Like, the problem is they have to move them up in time. And the fun part of that movie was that it was set in that sort of 20s, 30s, or 40s, or whenever it was set.
Yeah.
It's like that's sort of the fun of the movie, but when they start moving it too far ahead, it just lost all its magic.
Indiana Jones in the like mid 70s.
And some of it was like they had all this like weird
the disco ball's gone missing.
Gotta find it. And then they had like the special effects were really fake looking in that last one, whereas like the other ones they actually did real stunts that could actually happen. It's just doesn't have the magic. That fourth one was like
it was
terrible.
Horrible. There are very few movies in my life that I've almost walked out of, and Crystal Skull was one of them. I almost walked out of that movie. I mean, talk about a movie that like destroyed your childhood. Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing.
But there's just so many things about it that just was wrong. I'd rather see them reboot the series with a new actor and set it back in that time period.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather see them do that than, like, it doesn't need to be a young Indiana Jones. It can be just like a person around the same age as Harrison Ford was.
Exactly. Like, it turns out that there was a cult of Indiana Jones.
Yes,
and the followers of Indiana Jones.
Just reboot it, make a new Indiana Jones. Like, it's like
they could follow the girl who said "I love you" on her eyelids.
Oh,
just follow her. Why did she love him so much?
I'd rather see a whole movie with her doing that than Indiana Jones 6
like to find out more.
7 or whatever they are.
I don't know.
Though I still would rather see Indiana Jones like 4, 5, 6 and 7 or whatever than Avatar. Yes. So anyways,
all right, well, be careful what you wish for.
We'll leave that with a whoosh.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay. So anyway, that is happening. What else? Oh, so if going back in time is nice and things from our childhood are nice. So why not go all the way back to when we were tiny little kids and watch the Sesame Street movie that's now in production? That's right. Sesame Street's coming back to the big screen. They couldn't get enough of Follow That Bird. So
I never saw Follow That Bird.
Nope.
I forgot there was a movie.
There was Follow That Bird. I was behind. I was beyond Sesame Street, I think, at that point. So it didn't attract me. But they are bringing it back, and this one's funny. It's actually going to be based on the theme song. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
Okay. Yep.
So of course the beloved Sesame Street characters are going to be lost in New York because that's where everybody gets lost. I'm pretty sure the Smurfs were lost in New York for a while.
Well, it's a good place to get lost, really.
I guess. And they have to get back to New York or to Sesame Street, which is interesting because I always thought Sesame Street was in New York.
Yeah. Well, they recently named a street Sesame Street in New York. Yes.
Well, but isn't that where it takes
which
place?
is probably setting up for this.
I guess, maybe. So why can't they just like hop in a cab and say, "Take me to Sesame Street"? It's done.
Hop in a cab.
You know, that seems easy enough. Anyway, they're making an entire movie around this.
Like it's kid oriented. I mean, I love the Muppets and the whole Sesame Street gang, so I'm sure it'll be fun. Like,
I think it will too. And I feel like make it for adults as well, like for the parents who have to take the kids, because they'll try to make it nostalgic, especially if they're basing it on the theme song.
Yeah.
I think they'll try to
A
make
lot
it
of the
nostalgic.
characters they'll meet in New York too will probably be, even if they're just brief, will be like probably some Muppets and some other characters.
Yeah,
from
Guy Smiley will
Yes.
show up. Yep.
I love Guy Smiley.
No, who doesn't love Guy Smiley? So that's coming. And one of Matt Loop's favorite movies, Black Beauty.
Why is this even on the list?
I don't know.
Why did you?
Because I knew if I put it on the list, you'd get all aggravated about it.
I saw it on there, and I'm like, what does this have to do with any of this? Does Black Beauty shoot lasers out of his eyes now? Like, 'cause unless he does, I don't want to know about him.
I know. That's why I thought this is literally just to upset you. I put it on here. They're rebooting or remaking Black Beauty with starring Kate Winslet because there was such demand for a new Black Beauty movie that they had to get Kate Winslet out of wherever she's been, put her on a horse, and call it Black Beauty.
There you go.
Yep.
All right,
So
let's move
you'll
on.
be first. Well, would you rather see Black Beauty or the next Avatar sequel?
Black Beauty.
Okay,
All right.
see? I'm glad I've told you all about it now. It'll give you something to watch when everybody else is at the Avatar.
That's true. Okay, there you go.
Also, they have announced that the Wachowskis are set to make Matrix 4. What is going on with these movies that like started tanking after the originals and didn't ever get better? Like Matrix 2 and 3 were not really good movies.
No, they weren't, and they were like they're all right, but
They're
it just
fine.
The thing about the first Matrix, it was clever.
Yes.
It was very cool. It made you think. Like
Yep.
it was like, wow, what if we are in some sort of like computer or Matrix or whatever? The second one and third one were just like action movies
They
that
were
like
full car chases and shootouts.
it was just
and-
not. They weren't that great.
No, and so I mean, really, did we need another one? I don't know. I feel like the Wachowskis.
That's one of the few chances or a few times when sequels have sort of taken away from the original.
Yes, yeah,
Just leave the
exactly.
original the way it was. It would have been perfect.
Yeah. So unless they can really blow people away, but the problem is the Wachowskis have not had a good track record lately.
No.
You know what? I actually am a fan of their movies. I kind of like them. I think they're really cool. Speed Racer was one of my favorite movies that came the year it came out. I loved Speed Racer. I thought it was awesome. I really did like it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's one of those like I'm not super excited for it because I didn't know I needed to see another Matrix movie, but it's coming.
There's a lot of movies on here that I just do not want to see.
No,
It's okay.
a lot of negative news.
This is like the yeah, I know it's like
This is not exciting, except that's why I started with it. I probably should have ended with it.
Probably in
you know,
Spider-Man, yeah.
Yeah, we should have ended with the big ones so that we forgot about the other ones. And then, of course, to top things off and make things even more sad, talk about the passing of Peter Mayhew.
so depressing. It's a very special episode of Loop and Larry.
Yes.
Okay, so
It's been a little while now. I'm sure everybody's quite well aware, but because we talk about Star Wars a lot, we just have to acknowledge that Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca, has passed away, and it is sad. I think that's very sad, and I think it's. I mean, sad not only that he passed away, but the fact that they're so close to finishing the saga, and that he's not going to get the opportunity to see
the end of
finished.
it. Yeah.
I think that's a very
you
sad
met
thing.
him, right?
Yes, I met him at a Comic-Con, and I had the opportunity to tell him how, I really appreciated the character, and I really enjoyed, and he was very nice at the time, and this was maybe 7 years ago or so, and his health has really declined. He was at the Star Wars Celebration that happened last month.
Yeah.
And he had just come out of back surgery. So he was, I guess, in a lot of pain and discomfort, but he still was there for the 5 days of this convention and met thousands of people. And, and it was only a couple of weeks after that he passed away. So he was obviously struggling at that point. So I think that's pretty impressive that he was able to pull that off and still meet and greet the fans right up until the end almost.
Yeah.
So, that's something. But,
I've never met him, but I've seen him at cons walking through or whatever. You can't miss him.
Even with a cane, he was still over 6 feet tall. I mean, he's a really imposing person. But yeah, so that's kind of sad. But I mean, and of course, all the memes have started now with Carrie Fisher welcoming Peter Mayhew into heaven, and now the Wookiee can take care of the princess.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So there you go.
Also passed away is Peggy Lipton. She was 72, and you'll know her from Mod Squad and, of course, Twin Peaks.
Of course.
Where she played Norma Jennings. She owned the Double R Ranch or the Double R Diner. I love Twin Peaks. Huge Twin Peaks fan. And the thing with her is she was in the last Twin Peaks that that Lynch did, like the remake, the reboot, and she still looks fantastic. And she was like, she would have been like 70, probably 70 at that time when she made that, and she still looks amazing, like for 70. Like
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but she'll definitely be missed by the Twin Peaks audience, because there's always that hope that Lynch will make another Twin Peaks, because they really left it at like a cliffhanger.
Yeah, well, because he always does.
Yes, and so and now, but she wouldn't be on it. But it's unfortunate. But
yeah, it is. And just today, the day of our recording, word came out that actress Doris Day passed away.
Oh, that's right.
She was 97 years old.
Wow, 97.
97 years old. I mean, as sad as that is, and as iconic as she is, she kind of felt, to me, she fell into that category of I didn't even know she was still alive.
Yeah. Every once in a while, someone does, you're like, oh, I thought they died like 4 years ago.
Really? Doris Day, that's a name I haven't heard in probably 30 years. I didn't even realize.
That was like, what's his face from the Oscars? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was always at the Oscars, but I was like, he's still alive? Like, it's like, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Actors like that, they just sort of fall off the radar, and then when they come up, either because they die or something, you're like, I'm quite sure that he died. No, I'm sure he's dead. And yet there he is. Yeah, I don't know. But so there's our little Loop and Larry in memoriam for you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think it's time that we maybe go back in time. Let's go way back in time, in fact.
Let's do that.
All right, let's take a walk over here to the Pop-Capacitor. Jump in here.
You gonna have a nap?
88 miles per hour!
And there we go. I think we're just like it's a little walk. You know, it's not like it's kind of between a run and a walk.
It is. Whatever it is, we're always in a hurry to get back here.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
To talk. So what do we got now?
So now we are going to go back. We're going way back to medieval times.
We are, but in honor of our Game of Thrones overwhelming experience.
Yeah. So let's just take a little listen to this.
No doubt you've heard of our trouble at home.
A dragon, fire and stench. It is evil, pure and simple.
You want me to do battle with that?
Twice each year, the king selects a new victim, chosen by lot. Girls, virgins.
Your king's made a pact with a monster.
Dragonslayer. Coming from Paramount Pictures.
I love that voiceover guy.
He's the best. I could listen to him to read the phone book.
It's like he's not even like excited about it. It's like Dragonslayer coming. Paramount Pictures. It's not like Dragon Slayer.
No,
like, it's like you just expect.
Because he's got that big earthy voice. He can literally say anything. I have to use the washroom.
So I think when I mentioned this movie to you, I think I found a movie of it that's a Disney movie that you did not know was a Disney movie.
I did not know that this is. Yeah, it's a co-production.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Paramount Disney co-production. I literally had no idea.
And I remember watching this on back when like those movie networks first started. So it was like for
Super
us,
Channel,
for Super Channel, First Choice.
Yep.
They used to play this all the time.
Yes.
Like they only had, I bet they only had back then probably about maybe like 30 movies. That they would just revolve through, and this was one of them.
Yep.
And it was on like constantly.
It was. And this was the era when a lot of these sort of Beastmaster, Dragon, medieval kind of movies came out. So this was a really popular genre. At the time.
Because Conan had come out and it had made some money, and then these guys came out with this, and this did decently, and so it was like then it was all the B grade, like the Sword and the Sorcerer and all those came out.
That's right. What year was this? Was 81?
81.
Yeah. Yeah, so this thing came out. I don't think that I had ever seen it before.
Yeah.
I knew of it just because it's pretty iconic when it comes to all those sort of sword and like Dungeons and Dragons-y type movies, but I had never seen it. So this is my first experience with this movie.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
I liked it.
I thought it was okay. It actually kept my interest. But I think what's interesting, and I think why it kept my interest, is because there are a lot of influences in Game of Thrones that came from this movie.
Okay, yeah.
So
go on.
having watched this movie, or having watched Game of Thrones for the last 8 years, it was really interesting to pick out the references that George R.R. Martin had obviously seen in this movie and used in his writing and all of that. For example, there's an old sorcerer in this movie. The premise of the movie essentially is that there's a dragon living in a cave who the townsfolk have to appease by giving like a fair maiden as a sacrifice every year.
Yeah.
And so the town people put all of the young ladies' names into a hat or a bowl.
Yeah.
And everybody's and a name is pulled out once a year, and that person gets the honor of being tied to a stake and then eaten alive by the dragon.
Yeah.
But they got to stop this process because taking all the women away.
Yeah.
So that's essentially the premise of the movie. But there is, of course, an old sorcerer in this movie, and one of the first things we see him do is essentially warg. He's telling the future. He's doing the same thing that Bran does in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yeah, so that whole, that I can see the future, not with a crystal ball, just by knowing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. There are also a couple of characters whose names move directly into Game of Thrones. One of the main characters, the female leads, her name is Valerian.
Yeah.
Valerian Steel.
Yeah.
And one of the bad guy, the guy who's sort of set out to
is Skeletor, so that's cool. Oh, what? It wasn't Skeletor? Oh, okay, sorry. Go on.
I'll just continue talking.
Okay.
His name is Tyrion.
Oh, also right.
Yes.
I
got Tyrion and Valerian. Yep. Stealing things left, right, and center from this movie. Also, things I noticed when fire was lit around this village, it burned green like wildfire.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. When somebody says the word Draconis, it makes rocks fall and destruction. In Game of Thrones, it's Dracarys. Makes the fire, the dragons burn their fire. I'm these are the deep cuts right here.
Yeah.
Valerian dresses as a man to be part of, the adventures and so the same way that Arya dressed as a boy in order to evade capture and fall in with it. So the female dressing as a male so that
when was the first Game of Thrones written?
That's a very good question.
What would be written before this?
No, I'm gonna say afterwards. Let's see what else. The name Dragonslayer, the movie's name Dragonslayer, is not an actual person. He's not a Dragonslayer. He's not like Kingslayer. He's not that. The Dragonslayer is an actual weapon that they use. The weapon that they use, that's the Dragonslayer, is almost identical to the
harpoons.
The harpoons that they
I thought that too. I'm like, because it's a long spear that looks like metal, looks exactly like those harpoons.
Exactly. So I feel like there might be some connection there. And George, so the dragon, there's only one dragon in Dragonslayer, the movie, and he's got the best dragon name. Drogon that's a pretty good dragon name.
Yeah, it's good.
Do you know the name of the dragon?
You tell me. I can't remember.
Okay, the name of this dragon is. Now I got to pronounce it properly. Vermithrax pejorative.
Oh, that's right. It's like some weird. Yes.
Vermithrax pejorative.
I had a case of that a while ago, but
it cleared up nicely.
Yeah, it cleared up pretty good. But it's some penicillin. That's all you really need.
You have to clear up your Vermithrax pejorative. Yeah. So George R.R. Martin has actually said that Vermithrax pejorative is the best dragon that has ever been filmed. And in Game of Thrones, it was mentioned by name by Viserion Targaryen, Daenerys' brother, as one of the deceased dragons in season 1 when they're talking about.
Oh, really?
The dragons,
So it's directly referenced.
He actually says now I can't pronounce it again. Vermithrax. He actually says, I don't think he says pejorative, but I think he says Vermithrax. So it's
that is really cool.
Yeah. And if you get a chance to watch the trailer for this movie, if you see the dragon walking, it walks and behaves exactly the same way as the Game of Thrones dragons. Up to this point, when you saw dragons, they had four legs and wings on their back. They were like, four-legged walking creatures with wings. This one, the front legs were the wings, exactly the same way that they are in Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and if you see it walking, it looks just like the Game of Thrones dragon.
So this is really a prequel to Game of Thrones.
It really is. This is exactly prequel. It's exactly the thing. Let's see. Oh, here's another one. Not done yet.
Oh, yeah, you got it. You can go write a book.
Yeah, I know. I could call it Song of Fire and Ice. So the dragon in Dragonslayer, this is a spoiler, by the way, died when he fell into a lake. The same way that the Daenerys' dragon Viserion was killed by the I am the Night King and
Right.
fell into a lake.
Right.
Yeah. I'm
right.
catching all the connections.
All right.
Yeah. So that's all. That's what I've got. Those are the connections I found.
And the other thing in this movie is too is the Emperor's in it. Like the guy plays it, but I didn't see him at all. I didn't.
He was in it. So the Ian McDormand, who plays the Emperor in Star Wars, was in this movie. He was in it for about 10 minutes, and he plays like a priest who is trying to like drive back the dragon, and then he gets incinerated.
Oh, that's him. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't
and
even recognize him. I was like, I remember he was in it, and for some reason I seemed to be a much bigger role.
Well, because at this point he had been. He'd been in Empire Strikes Back. He was
because what year did Empire Strikes Back come? Oh yeah, he was barely in it though.
Yeah, he wasn't a big part.
No, he wasn't. It was
starting there.
Yeah.
So, but he was in it too. So that was kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, because the idea is that they go to the wizard to come destroy the dragon, but he gets killed, and so the apprentice has to go kill the dragon.
That's right.
Who starts off really arrogant, but then realizes that he becomes a hero in that he realizes that he's not as powerful as he thinks he is.
That's right. Yes, exactly. A couple other little fun facts that I have here. You mentioned that this is a Disney movie. I wasn't aware of it, and I don't think that Disney promotes it as being a Disney movie because this is the only Disney movie released that contains frontal male nudity.
Yes.
Yep. And it's a very quick scene. It's where the main character jumps into a lake, and for whatever reason, he's not wearing pants or underwear, and he spreads his legs a little too wide, and all the dangly bits come out.
Dangly bits.
So there is frontal nudity, male frontal nudity in a Disney movie. So that's kind of interesting. And then the last little bit of information I've got in here is the special effects for this movie were done by Phil Tippett and Dennis Muren, who were also responsible for the special effects on Empire Strikes Back in Star Wars. So they just come out of Empire Strikes Back when they started.
Because Industrial Light and Magic worked on this, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So those two, and this movie actually got an Oscar nomination for special effects. So that's that and
soundtrack, I think.
And soundtrack, yeah. So
it's pretty cool. Like it's one of those movies that's just sort of like. It's actually well done. Yeah. It's just that a lot of people don't know about it.
That's the thing.
It's weird too because it does have Oscar nominations, but no one remembers this movie. Like it's not like it hasn't like it's not mainstream. No one ever remembers it or thinks about it again. Or
no, but it really like
I thought it's fairly strong.
It is, and now in this age where Game of Thrones and this sort of thing is really popular again. It's the kind of thing that they should re-release somehow in a new packaging, or
because it's not. I don't think it's even on Blu-ray.
No, I don't think it is. No. I mean, I think we rented it on iTunes. I think iTunes has it.
I swear to God that I own this movie, and because I think we watched it when we used to have a movie club. I think we watched it in that. I think
maybe.
And I looked for it. I couldn't find it, but I didn't want to rebuy it because I didn't want it to happen what happened to that other movie where I bought it and I realized I owned it.
Yep.
So I had like 3 copies of it.
And of course that would have happened.
Yes. I had a major discovery in this movie.
Oh, tell me.
Major.
Okay.
This is huge.
Okay.
This is something I always thought my whole life, and I realized in this movie I am 100% wrong.
I really want to hear this.
So Peter MacNicol plays the main character.
Yes.
And you may know Peter MacNicol from Ally McBeal.
Yep.
He's in Veep once in a while.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
He's in a bunch of.
He was in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, he's in Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters 2. Sorry.
Ghostbusters 2.
Yep.
He was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's been on tons of stuff. He's in a lot of things. I always thought this is so stupid that he played Pee-wee in Porky's. I thought for the longest time
he doesn't.
No, it's not him. It's somebody completely different. Because he looks like him. If you look back at pictures of Pee-wee from Porky's, because I've even referenced him before. Oh, it's cool that Pee-wee's in this. Like I always call him Pee-wee because I always thought he was Pee-wee. He never played Pee-wee. That's a totally different person.
I can't say Pee-wee again.
Pee-wee. I can't. But I always thought that was him. And then for some reason I was looking at IMDb and I'm like looking back and I thought, oh look, because I don't know he's in the Porky's movies and it's like Peter MacNicol's not in them, but he looks like him.
He does. He totally.
And I even looked him up and he does kind of facially look like him, which is the reason why I probably thought he played him.
Yeah. but it's not him.
I always thought it was him.
Wow.
Even when he was on Al McBeal, it's like, oh, it's good to see Pee-wee's getting some work.
Here's a good thing, that he never appeared at Comic-Con and you walked up and said, hey, great work on Pee-wee and Porky's.
I know.
He would have killed you.
I always thought it was the same guy. And,
Wow.
and until I just watched it again, I looked him up and I was like, oh my God, that's not the same guy. And then I had to look up Porky's to find out who was the guy, and it was like a whole thing.
Wow. This consumed your entire weekend.
Oh my
didn't
God,
it?
I was like blown away. I always thought they were the same person. I always thought he played it.
remarkable.
And even you kind of thought it.
I did. When you said it, it makes sense. He does. He looks a lot like him.
Nope.
Not him at all.
Not at all.
Wow, whatever happened to that guy?
I don't know.
Oh, well, now we're going to have to look into this. This is going to be another Pop-Capacitor moment. Whatever happened to Pee-wee?
Go back to Porky's and watch that. No, it was like, I just couldn't believe. Like, it was like, I'm like, what? Because I've referenced him several times as being the same actor.
Yeah.
It's
and
like,
you've been wrong every time.
Every time I see him, I think it's like, oh yeah, he was in. That's the first thing I think. Oh yeah, he was in Porky's.
Nope, he was not.
It's cool that he's still getting work from Porky's.
Yes, apparently he did such a good job.
Nope.
But here's the interesting thing. I got a little tidbit on Peter MacNicol.
Yes.
He hated this movie. He hated his part in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And he hated it to the point where he doesn't recognize that he was in it. Like, he's taken it off of his list of movies that he has appeared in.
Really?
Yeah. He hated it that much that he won't admit to being a part of this movie.
Why did he hate it so much?
I don't know. I haven't read any quotes because I guess he won't talk about it. But apparently he really disliked this movie, and I don't know why. I thought he did a great job. I mean, I think it's for its time, it's a great movie, but he just does not want to have any part of it.
I think it's one of his first movies.
It may even be his first.
Yeah,
he was really young. But not a fan of this movie.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the genre and stuff. Like some people just like.
Well, he's gone from that to Ally McBeal. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe he just was like, I need a break. I need to get into this biz. I'll do this crazy sword and stone thing.
But I think like the budget was like $18 million. Like it wasn't a cheap movie to make. I just want to mention before we end it, but the dragon looks really cool in it.
Really good.
Like they did such a great job with the special effects for it. Even that whole scene where he's like, there's a part where he's down in this like cavern and Peter MacNicol's jumping like from like stone to stone across this fiery water, and then the dragon comes out of the water.
Yes.
Really cool scene.
It's really cool. And they did a lot of like, they had a whole bunch of different dragons. So they had some miniatures, they had some puppets, they had some mechanical dragons and that sort of thing. So they blew the budget on the dragon.
The dragon's kids in it made me laugh.
Oh, yes, they are ugly.
Yeah, they reminded me of some like bad horror movie. Like they're very puppety looking.
Yeah, they're very puppety. Yeah. They kind of look like little rock monsters.
Yeah, they did. Like they.
Yeah, they were a little goofy looking.
Yeah.
But no, the dragon. And the thing is with this movie, you don't see the dragon clearly for quite a while. Like he's, you got to stay with the movie for a while to be able to see it. But once you see it, woo!
That's what I liked about it, because you only see its tail, or you see just the shadow of it, or like it kind of silhouetted, so you can't really quite distinguish it. But it was very, very cool.
Yeah, I would. So, would you recommend this movie?
I would totally recommend this movie.
Absolutely. If you are at all a fan of Game of Thrones, you really should see this, because I think that. And I could be wrong, because I didn't research when the books were written, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this was quite an inspiration for. George
if not even for the books, but for the show itself, because I'm sure they took sort of that as a bit of the template of how to do the dragon and things like that.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah, it was good. I'll give it.
This was a good one.
Good
Pop-Capacitor.
It was a good Pop-Capacitor. So that's the show. We've gone through the show. This is episode 12.
Woof. We just keep cranking them out.
We do. And so we'll do another show next week. We'll have some new news, and we'll have another Pop-Capacitor, and it's gonna be a classic. Well, it looks like that's the end of the show, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Loop.
And I'm Larry.
And we'll see you next time.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.